Yeah, and let's get into the kind of the final team. Don't know how long we'll go, but the Portland Trailblazers, they're tough. I live in Portland. It's so weird the way that they're going about things because they're keeping Damian Lillard, and keep your superstar. You got to generate that income, but the moves that they make, like consistently, are just kind of like, that's the guy you went after. You lose C.J. McCollum, and they're like, okay, we got Jeremy Grant, and Gary Payton. That's kind of the moves that they made. They obviously re-signed Anthony Simons. They drafted Shaden Sharp, but that was it. Those were the moves. Like, is this any different from any Portland Trailblazers team we've seen in the last 5 years, or is it just going to be the same? Yeah, they made the playoffs. Maybe they were a 6, 7, 8. Maybe they're in the play-in type of team led by Damian Lillard, where maybe he has a couple of big games in the playoffs, but they lose in 6, and it's like, okay, let's keep it going, do it again next year.
To be honest, I'm starting to think that with the way that Damian Lillard is playing, it's kind of almost the same way as how Bradley Beal is for the Wizards. It's like, do you continue to build around him, and you stay competitive, but is that what you want? Like, is that all you want? And it kind of feels like Damian Lillard, and I don't really know if this is his fault. I think it's more on management to build the right players. You pretty much nailed it right on the head. They traded away C.J. McCollum, and their best player to replace him is Jeremy Grant. Like, that's an obvious downgrade. No one, like, you don't even have to think about that. So I think it's just another play-in tournament type roster, to be honest. Even though I like, Simons, I just don't. I don't think they have. I don't think they have enough the right roster in order to make it even past that. Especially in the West this year. The West, like, the Clippers are back. They're healthy. The Nuggets are back. They're healthy. The Pelicans got Zion back. They're like, the West is actually so unbelievably stacked, and I just don't see. I don't see them better than even the Dallas Mavericks team. You know, or I just, there's not a lot of teams I would put them ahead of. So I don't think it would work. And I think Damian Lillard as a player should definitely just kick the loyalty can out there and just figure out a new place for him. And I don't think it's his fault. I think it's based off management and them giving him the right players.
Yeah, and what's so frustrating, is it's like management appears like they're signing players that teams that are trying to contend sign, right? Gary Payton, tenacious defender, really gets after it. He can score the ball, played a key role for the Warriors up until that injury, and then I think he came back. He played a couple of finals games. You sign him, you sign a really good 3-and-D player in Jeremy Grant, and you're like, these are moves that you would expect a contender to be making that already has their second star. Now, I like Anthony Simons. I think he made a leap last year. But, that's the guy you're counting on with Damian Lillard, who maybe your best player in franchise history, at least probably since Bill Walton. That's the guy that you're like, okay. What is he, year 3, maybe year 4, Anthony Simons? I can look it up, but, he's played 3 years in the NBA. Actually, he's played 4. He came in 2019. I get the numbers mixed up. Came into 2019. He's played 4 years. He averaged 3, 8, 7, and then he averaged 17 last year. But, he was also, the only guy trying to score the ball last year for the Trailblazers. So it's just weird. It's frustrating. As an OKC fan, I was thankful when they traded Russell Westbrook because it showed that they weren't going to do the same thing over and over again. Yeah, they can try and get a second star and try and play with Russ and then, win a couple of games. They can try that. But it just kept not working. And they were like, you know what, Russ? Why don't you go be the number 2 somewhere? And he ended up going to Houston. Play with your buddy. And it was better for OKC. I think it would be better for Portland if they gave up on Dame. They have Shaden Sharp, who I really like. They have Anthony, like they have young pieces. Trade Dame, get some picks, and try and rebuild. I think that's the only way that they can get through this. Like being in, I call it perpetual mediocrity. It's what too many teams are in right now.
Yeah, no, I like it, and again, it just goes right back to Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal is going to keep the Washington Wizards, at a good standard to where they're going to win games, you know, maybe make playoffs. They haven't made playoffs in a few years, but because of how good he is and where he takes the Wizards, they're not going to get those high picks, that you would want as a rebuilding team. I kind of view it the same way as Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard is going to keep you competitive. I mean, he has shown he can take the team to the playoffs. He'll get you there as far as he can, but you're not going to get any farther without an actual number 2 star. Everyone has a number 2 star in the championship roster. No one has done it by themselves. And are we really going to count on Anthony Simons to be his number 2? It's to me, it's unrealistic. And if they had a number 2 and all these roster moves were made after the fact, then I think we'd be talking a little different. But they don't. It's just another kind of what you said, perpetual mediocrity. That was pretty perfect. They're not going to get far by just keeping Damian Lillard, without an actual number 2.
Yeah. All right, Carlos. I mean, that's all the topics that we had today. I think it was a ton of fun. Hopefully anybody watching, listening, whatever they're doing, subscribe, follow the TikTok, follow the Instagram, all that stuff. Just America's Finest Sports. And I think AF Sports as well. Go check all that stuff out. Thank you so much, Carlos, for coming on. Do you have anything, to end off the show with? I'll let you end off the show. Anything final to say?
Yeah, you know what? This is actually a lot of fun. I love talking. I love talking basketball. And I'm excited for this show, and I hope it continues to do big things. But appreciate you having me on.
No problem. All right, let's wrap it up. It was a lot of fun, and I'll see all of you again next week. But there should be another episode on this channel coming out within the next 2 days.